Good afternoon, brethren. This is session 1 of our meeting today, and it will be, I guess you can call it a current events issue. As I just told you all on my testimony, this is my intention from now on. Every time anytime a prominent event happens, a significant event happens, I would like to present it to you, an international event, because it's very important that we do not remain ignorant. Now, I want to remind you that I am not endorsing anybody, any of these videos or people that I talked to you about. In other words, the video today, it's by Benjamin Fulford. I'm not endorsing or recommending to you Benjamin Fulford. I listened to a lot of these videos on the internet. Some of them I don't think are credible. I find somebody that I think is credible, and especially if I hear him mentioned by someone else that I am following, and I seem to be following this, and I just found out that he's a doctor, William Mount. I don't know whether he's a medical doctor or a PhD, I don't know, but I've just subscribed to his channel, and he has some very interesting things to say. One article was titled, or one video was titled, How to Get Healed of Cancer, and another title was How to Get Healed of another disease. He seems to be all into nutrition, so I intend to watch some of his other videos. And I think I heard this name, William Fulford, mentioned by William Mount. So I'm showing you his video. This does not mean I'm telling you that he's right. He just seems to be credible. And brethren, even the credible sources, you need to understand that the information that they present to you is their subjective understanding of the information. You don't believe anything carte blanche. You take it into your mind, you think about it, you pray about it, you be aware of it, and this will keep your mind ascended. Whether an ascension is through mind, and the doctrine of Christ is one way that we ascend, but it's not enough. Every spiritual benefit that we gain from God or from following Him, from studying the doctrine of Christ, every spiritual benefit that we gain must materialize for us in some manner in the material world. It has to affect our lives in the material world. So our consciousness is being raised through the doctrine of Christ, and now, hopefully, we will be able to function at this level of international information. And it's even more than international information. I don't know what right word to use at the moment. It's beyond international. It's global information. We're talking about information here that person in the street would not listen to. They would say, that's crazy, that person is crazy, I don't want to hear about it. A war going on between the Illuminati, the New World Order, and these other factions. You're nuts, I'm going home and I'm going to watch TV. So we're talking about functioning on a level that is a level above this world. It's not international would mean that it's on this world. We're talking about functioning on a level whereby we are literally in another spiritual world. Okay? And the average person cannot go here. There was a time that I could not go there. I thank God for what the Lord is doing with regard to raising my consciousness. The first time I ever heard anything along these lines, I immediately called them crazy and shut them off, and that was Alex Jones years ago. You know, I don't want anything to do with him, but the Lord brought me in slowly, little by little. He brought me into this place. What place? It's a spiritual place that I inhabit with my mind. My mind abides or lives in this spiritual place where I'm aware that things are going on. Some of it has to be true. Too many people are talking about it for it to be a total fantasy. And there are enough things happening that we can see that should at least convince us that there's some truth here. Now I want to tell you this, that I am very relieved to find out that this warfare is going on, because the warfare is between the New World Order, the Illuminati, the Bilderbergs, that whole, what you will hear these speakers referred to as the Khazarian Cabal. And what they mean by the Khazarian Cabal are the Jewish bankers, the Zionist bankers. Now, this is not the Jewish person in the street. I am Jewish, please. This is not the Jewish person in the street or your next door neighbor. Okay? And it's not even Jewish people that have power. But apparently there's a group of international bankers that began with I think his name was Weisberg, I don't remember what his name was, back in the 1800s. And that's established history. That is established history because the way the world found out about them was about this international banker and his family, his sons, and their plans to take over and rule the world. He sent his sons out to different parts of the world to set up banks back in the 1800s when they were first starting. I think it was the 1800s anyway. And there was a courier that was taking the father's information to one of his sons with the plans to overthrow legally elected governments and dominate the world. And the courier was, I think he was killed on the way, and someone found his pouch and took it to the government. It was plans to overthrow the government. This is history, see? And that's how God exposed them in the first place. So it's not all craziness, see? So that's the New World Order. I am so relieved to hear that there are other powers that are resisting them. Because it is one thing for me to know, well, the New World Order, the Bilderbergs, the Council of Foreign Relations, and they have all of this power, and it's them, okay, and it's us little guys down here waiting for God to move, but no sign of God moving. I don't know about you, but that was the position that I was in my mind, see? And now as the Lord raises my consciousness, I see, no, there are other powers. They're called bloodlines, ancient families. Whether they're ancient families or satanic bloodlines, that's another issue. There are other groups that are fighting the New World Order. Well, that empowers me in my mind, see? That empowers me in my mind. Can anybody not understand what I'm saying? That empowers me in my mind. Now, the people that are fighting the New World Order, they may be just as bad as the New World Order. But at least there's some resistance in the earth. Let them destroy each other. Does anyone not know what I'm talking about? Nobody. Does anyone know? You know what I'm talking about? Okay. It's been absolutely liberating for me to find out that there are other factions in the world that are fighting them. And I've heard a lot of new things recently. I've heard about ancient Chinese called the red dragons, ancient Chinese families. These ancient families, when you hear these words, ancient families, now, in my opinion, it's all going back to Nimrod. It's all going back to the ancient, to the beings that appeared on the earth after the fall, after the third stage of the fall. Noah and his sons were at the second stage of the fall. And when the descendants of Noah shrank down into what we are today, this is the third stage of the fall. But there are still beings on the earth today that look like us, whether they really look like us and they use mind control, or whether they don't look like us and they're hiding themselves somehow. That's not even my conversation for today. There are beings around today that go back to the fall of man. Maybe to what they were like in the days of Noah, or maybe what they were like before Noah's flood. There are intelligences in the earth that go back that far. See? And they're fighting factions. You know, where Jesus is, where God is, I shouldn't say Jesus because we're talking about ancient times, and Jesus is just around for 2,000 years. See? But the way, listen, where God is, there's unity and liberty. Where the opponents, where it's not God, where it's the anti-God, whatever you want to call it, there's division and factions and fighting. So where God is not operating, there has to be divisions and factions and fightings. So there are these different factions. Even when you look into the aliens, they tell you there are different kinds of aliens. So I'm just delighted to hear that they're fighting with each other. weaken everybody, then the Lord will come in and establish his kingdom. So now I hear that there are these ancient bloodlines in China that are pre-communist. I heard somebody say, of all these videos that I'm listening to, I'm not listening to people that sound like they're crazy. I'm listening to people that sound credible. They may be right, and they may be wrong, and they may, what they have heard may be misinformation from the CIA. So I don't want you to think I'm believing everything. I'm telling you what I've heard. That it was the CIA that set up Mao Zedong, who killed all of those millions of people and brought communism into China. Well, maybe that sounds crazy to you until you think of it from this point of view. I have no doubt that the Rockefellers are the fomenters of communism around the world, and they're trying to bring it here. The Rockefellers who had the power to change the history books and the school books of our children after World War II, to deny the truth about World War II, that it was a spiritual war. Yeah. Those are the Rockefellers. So the Rockefellers, is it a very far jump for me to think that, and it's not just the Rockefellers, there are other powerful people in this country that really want communism. Okay? And think of the people as serfs, and that they have power in our government. They have power in our government. See? So is it really such a far jump to think that these powerful people in our country that have power with our government, that really want world communism, which I am convinced of, work through our CIA to bring in communism in China? Is that such a big jump? Am I saying that it's absolutely true? I'm not saying it's absolutely true, but I'm saying nothing would shock me at this point. At this point, I am convinced that our CIA stirs up revolutions and interferes in other legal governments all across the world. I used to hear it and turn it off and say, that's crazy, we're good. That's what the CIA does. Kennedy wanted to splinter it into 1,000 pieces, and they killed him. So if I hear somebody say it was our CIA that set up Mao Zedong, maybe. Where do you live, Sheila? I live up here where my mind is, see? So, I'm not endorsing these people. I'm not telling you that they're right. What I'm doing is introducing you to issues on a level that are higher than your everyday thoughts. See? So studying the doctrine of Christ raises our consciousness. It does not raise our consciousness so that we can enjoy ourselves, and there's nothing wrong with enjoying ourselves. Talking about the doctrine of Christ and discovering hidden meanings in the scripture that we never knew before, which I just love, but that's not what it's for. You can use it for that if you want to, but there has to be a practical application of everything that God teaches us. And as of today's date, the practical application of having our mind ascended is so that we can abide in this spiritual world that will at least consider and think possibly true the things that I'm talking to you about now. And you need to understand that the average person would never tolerate it. They'd walk out of the room and say I was crazy, and that everyone that I'm listening to is crazy. Just like my parents wouldn't believe that I had a supernatural healing from Crohn's disease. They insisted it was the operation, but no one gets healed from Crohn's disease with an operation. They didn't care. They absolutely refused to believe I had a supernatural healing. They abode in a particular spiritual world. Spiritual worlds are mental worlds. See? So maybe this is our promotion. We've been waiting for a promotion. See? Let us not be ignorant. Let us be amongst those that know what's going on. And I'm not in any position yet to draw conclusions from the facts that are, or from the facts that are presented to me, whether they be true or not. I do not have the ability to draw conclusions. So let us listen to some people that are drawing conclusions that may sound credible to me. Listen and think about it, and pray about it, and pray about your own pride and any resistance that might be in you to the truth. And let us at least know what the issues are. Now I hear about, from this video, I hear about ancient bloodlines in Indonesia and in Japan. Why are they fighting with the Khazarian cabal? Why? Can anybody guess? Because the Khazarian cabal want depopulation. They want to bring the world population down to 500 million. And which ethnicities do you think they're trying mostly to blot out? Which ethnicity do you think they want to prevail? For them, they're basically a white cabal. The population that they want to get rid of are all the people that are not white. And that's just the truth. So now, I'm told there's an ancient bloodline in Indonesia that has risen up and said, if you don't get your stuff out of here, what stuff? Monsanto, your genetically modified foods that are killing us, you're playing with the weather, you're causing a harp, you're causing earthquakes and floods. You know, they're threatening them. Do they have power to oppose them? I don't know. And Japan, you know that all of Japan is contaminated from that atomic, the problem with the atomic plant. People are getting cancer and dying all over Japan, and it's coming to the Hawaiian shores. They have not been able to clean it up. There are some people that are saying, do you know that Carolyn Kennedy is our ambassador to Japan? Did you know that? And there are some that are saying that it was a setup. They sent her there and her son to die. Is it true, Sheila? Do you believe it's true? I'm just listening. I know they assassinated her father. I am not 100% convinced, but they may very well have assassinated her brother, which is what they're saying. And now she has a son. And she went to Washington. Had nothing to do with politics at all, and said, here I am, do you have a job for me? Yeah, would you like to be the ambassador to Japan? Do you speak Japanese? No. Do you know anything about the Japanese culture? No. Okay. Would you like to go to Japan? Why not? And as soon as she got there, one of the first things she did was given to her to do was to go visit that plant, which had that atomic plant, which had the leak. You don't want to believe it? I just encourage you to stay neutral. Do you believe it, Sheila? Leave it in there. Let God deal with it. Because anything that you block out immediately, most likely is because of fear. I had to admit that. When the Lord was breaking me down so that He could bring me to this place where I am today, that I'm demonstrating to you. Looking back, I have to say it was fear. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Why don't you believe that? I just don't believe it. Because it makes you afraid. See? Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Fear is not of God. Okay? So, the gentleman that we're listening to today, I've given you his Wikipedia profile, his Wikipedia bio. You can read it for yourself. I'm not going to read it onto the video. A very interesting man. Very interesting man. Well, maybe I will read it. It's pretty short, and he has some interesting things to say here. Let's see. In case you haven't heard of Benjamin Fulford, he was a very controversial and outspoken journalist, author, and former writer for Forbes magazine. In case you're not aware of it, Forbes magazine is very, if it still exists, a very prestigious magazine. Born in Canada in 1961, Benjamin Fulford rebelled against his background, and at the age of just 17, he claims that he went to live with a tribe of former cannibals in the Amazon. Benjamin Fulford wants to save the planet. Many years later, he ended up in Japan, where he learned the language and now has around a dozen books out in Japanese in 1998. Until 2005, he was the Asian bureau chief for Forbes magazine. This guy is not some jerk riding down the street on a bicycle. He was the Forbes magazine Asian bureau chief. That's a big job, brethren. According to the Wikipedia entry, Benjamin has claimed that AIDS and SARS are bioengineered weapons designed specifically to reduce the Asian population. You know, I want to interfere with this to tell you that I watch a lot of movies, you know that, and I saw this movie. It was a British movie, and it was very. Don't ask me the name. If you really want it, I'll go looking for it. It was a very interesting movie, and it was about this man who was giving service in Africa, and he had to come back to England because his brother died, and he was finding out that people were getting sick, and the whole movie was around people getting sick. And the climax, there were two climaxes to the movie. One climax was that there was such mind control, such control in Britain, and it was like a futuristic movie, that he couldn't get out. And why wouldn't they let him out? He just wanted to go back to Africa, which was his love. You know, he just came back because his brother died. Why wouldn't they let him out? Because he discovered the truth about the disease. What was the truth about the disease? It was not only put out by the government, it was not only released into the population by the government, but it was a disease that was ethnically designed. It only made people of certain ethnicities sick. And looking back on it, I didn't get it. It went in this year and it went out that year. I heard what he said. To me, the high point of the movie was that he was locked in Britain and they wouldn't let him out. That was the control. That was what I could deal with at the time. And that was like 2 years ago. Today, it's making sense to me. Diseases designed only to make certain populations sick. Does anyone not hear what I just said? And this is what this man was claiming. That AIDS and SARS are bioengineered weapons designed specifically to reduce the Asian population. He also says that a Chinese secret society with a membership of 6 million, including 1.8 million gangsters and 100,000 professional assassins, has issued an ultimatum to the Illuminati. Hallelujah, let them kill each other. Did you hear what I just said? Warning them, if they persist with the plan to depopulate the earth, they will be stopped. The society has created an alliance joining Russia, China, India, South America, I don't know how to pronounce this, ASEAN, the Free Muslim Nations, and Africa, that is united in stopping the Illuminati. Benjamin says that he was approached by a modern-day ninja who gave him a Freemason's badge and told him either he joined them or he would be killed at the age of 46. Benjamin Fulford has also talked about earthquakes being deliberately created and the use of HARP technology a weapon. In 2007, Fulford became famous on the internet and in conspiracy theory circles because he managed to get an in-depth interview with David Rockefeller, who I am absolutely convinced wants to chip the whole population and fully control us. And that's, I mean, there's so much information on that to not believe it. In my opinion, you have to be in denial. And on the same video, he delivered the threatening ultimatum to the elite that they step down peacefully or face the consequences. So this is this Fulford. You know. Admittedly, Fulford makes some pretty wild claims, and many people find it hard to believe him. However, if they want to do some research, they will find his credentials as a journalist and author are authentic. And of course, he demonstrated that he did get to film an interview with Rockefeller. Rockefeller agreed to be interviewed by him. This guy's no jerk walking down the street. After the release of the interview on video, in which Benjamin delivered a threatening message to the Illuminati, he also issued a letter of apology to Rockefeller. Well, that doesn't faze me. They probably threatened his life, so he said he's sorry. But he still got the word out. Benjamin Fulford says that all he really wants to do is save the planet. He has some brilliant ideas for how this can be done. Kerry Cassidy and Bill Ryan of Project Camelot interviewed Benjamin, and he discusses all these subjects and much more in the course of the interview. And of course, we're not going to listen to the whole interview today because I have a Doctrine of Christ message for you. But that I may go back in and listen to it myself after the meeting. That's what the square is on your papers there. Now, these people, Kerry Cassidy and Bill Ryan of Project Camelot, I've listened to a lot of their interviews for your information, just in case any of you are going to go out on your own and start listening to these videos. I've listened to a lot of interviews by Project Camelot. I think that they're very, very, very good interviewers. But a lot of the people that they interview they're not, I don't believe they're Christian. There's absolutely no indication that they're Christian at all, or of any kind of Christian morality. They're more like New Age. And a lot of the people that they interview are New Ages. So if you decide to go that way, be very careful. But they're very good interviewers. They provide a lot of information. It's just some of it, I just question the sources of some of it. And they're not telling you anything other than that these people are out there saying certain things and they choose to interview them. They're not supporting them. This is what journalism is supposed to be like. They're not supposed to be supporting or endorsing anybody. They're supposed to be getting information to the people. And that's what I'm trying to do for you today. So you're going to hear a couple of things that you might never have heard on this video. There are several. I picked out this video specifically because it's commenting on Obama's recent visit to Antarctica and then Argentina. And that is what I wanted to make clear to you. I didn't mention it on Thursday's message, but it seems to be a big issue. There seem to be, in my mind, there are two major issues that are out there today. And the first one is the resetting of our currency, of not only of the world currency, the resetting of the world currency. We'll be lucky if we get 50 cents on the dollar, if we get that. You know. But that resetting of the world currency seems to be tied to this story that's been circulating for 5 years, that the Joint Chiefs of Staff were going to arrest Obama, and that it was supposed to have been done 2 weeks ago. And either it seems to have fallen through. You know. And it's my opinion that the plan was genuine, but that the Lord is hindering. See, the Lord is hindering. So there's not much about that today, but that's like a top issue. And then the White House was supposed to be on lockdown, and Obama under arrest. You know, it's the story seems to be dying. And the day that it was supposed to have happened, everybody was trying to call Paul Ryan, and he wasn't answering his phone, so something went wrong. But the money reset is coming. Unless the Lord steps in and does a miracle, it has to happen, because we're printing money, and it's a Ponzi scheme. There's nothing behind it. See? But this issue with Obama going to Antarctica, and then he went to Argentina, which is, I'm told, is very close to Antarctica. So some people are saying, I've heard three theories, okay, and all three may be true. That there's the Cuba went to Antarctica, and he went to Cuba, Antarctica, and Argentina. That Cuba is turning it to be a big meeting place for the Jesuits. It's like a Jesuit, I don't know what they're calling it, but I'll just say a location, I don't know what they're calling it, a place where the Jesuits will be operating out of. And I think I mentioned to you that the Russian Patriarch went there, and Pope Francis was there. Then I've heard rumors that Pope Francis is going to be resigning in May. I've heard that all the way back, that he's going to be resigning. I don't recall what's supposed to happen after he resigns from what I heard 6 months ago. Okay. And this issue with Antarctica now. We heard a little bit about Antarctica when we studied the flat Earth, if you recall. Okay. That all of the powers of the world had an agreement that no one power should own Antarctica, and that the theories are that there are underground, Hitler was very involved in that area, that there are underwater alien bases that are now alien bases and Nazi bases on one and the same. Underwater bases, there have been reports of flying machines that came out from under the water, pierced the water, and went up into the sky. What would you call it? Can't call them planes. What would you call them? I'll call them machines. That they function from the depth of the waters into the skies. They function anywhere. And talk of aliens. I don't know if any of that talk of aliens will be on this video. They're saying that there is gold. There's gold in Indonesia. There's gold in Antarctica. It's all about the gold, okay? Because we don't have any gold to back up our money. I told you on Thursday that we stole 33 tons of gold from Ukraine. Maybe, I don't know how much is, well, brother, I'm no expert on this. I'm learning with you. The International Monetary Fund, which is the Khazarian Cabal, if you want to call them that, or the Illuminati, because now we need to identify the different factions, okay? They're calling them the Khazarian Cabal. Okay? They're looking for gold to back up all the paper money that they printed. Maybe if they can get enough gold, then they won't have to reset the money. Something like that. There's something big going over there in Antarctica. Now, I heard one other theory that I'll tell you about before we listen to the video, and I don't know whether it's on this video or not. I think this video is basically they're talking about mineral rights. I heard one person that said it's not the mineral rights. And this guy, he may not be credible, this guy, but I'll just let you know what I heard. He said that, well, many people are saying that there are aliens down there, that there are alien cities under the water in Antarctica. And so this one person, which I didn't think he was credible enough to show you the video, but I'll tell you basically what his position is. That there are aliens under the water, and that they really want, this is a prison planet, they want to escape. This particular man believed in the flat earth theory. Now the flat earth theory says that the earth is flat, but we're under a dome, okay? We're under a dome, a spiritual dome that they cannot get out of. And that this city, the word was the city, the underground city has been activated. Apparently, an underground city, or the remains of it, was discovered off of the waters by Seattle several years ago. I don't recall the year, maybe 20 years ago. And they found large crystals there and remains of the city. They're saying there's a city in Antarctica and an underground base, Nazi base, and that these aliens want to return. Now, I'm telling you all this because I had a thought that I wanted to share with you. So this particular video, he showed images found from ancient cultures, okay, which show average-sized people and 8-foot people, we're talking about giants now. And in the images, like carved into walls, that there were rays coming down from above, and the rays were coming down to the 8-foot aliens. So this man is drawing the conclusion that they want to get out of this prison planet, see? And that those rays coming down were feeding them, and now those rays were cut off, and they're stuck down here, and they want to get out. So when I heard that, I wanted to tell you what my reaction was. That I believe that that image, or that the thought that produced that image, is a memory of what existed on the other side of the flood. There were humans, okay, and then there were all different kinds of creatures, but there were beings, there were entities, there were conscious entities that had descended from the higher world, that had a relationship with God. Nimrod had a relationship with God. And that was what the image showed. This man's understanding was they were getting fed by the spaceship or whatever. No, I think that image indicated their relationship with God. And then they were cut off because of sin. So they're not aliens that want to go back to Mars which is Sirius or Orion, their ancient consciousnesses, maybe the entities that were 8 feet tall and 10 feet tall on the other side of the flood, maybe those intelligences exist today in human-looking bodies, and they want to go back. Well, maybe I'm one of them. I don't know. The soul that incarnated me wants to go back. Wants that relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ, who was the garment that covers the God world. I want that. I want that. I want to be fed from above. I want that relationship, which will be a ladder by which I can stay here or ascend there. So all of this talk about aliens, brethren, the aliens are here, and we're probably them, or they're us. We want to get back to God, not spaceships. So is there any truth to cities underneath the sea? It's probably true. And he was showing these giant crystals. You know, crystals, I think they conduct energy. That's the significance of the crystals. The problem is, Nimrod's minions that exist today in another form are still trying to build their Tower of Babel and get back to the God world. They want to get back to the place where they have all power over the earth, where their every need is met, their every desire is met, and there's no power over them. They don't want to do it by going back to Jehovah. They want to be gods themselves. It's all here. It's all here. They're all here. Intelligences with shrunken bodies that have a memory of a time that their every need was met from above. Well, I have that memory. I want it from God. I want my every need met by God. That's my vision of the future. You see, inside of me right now, there are dimensional walls inside of me. Jesus, in the parable of the rich man and Lazarus, he said, the rich man said, send Lazarus to help me. And Jesus said, can't do it. There's a big gulf that exists between where you are and where he is, and you can't cross it. Well, what do you think it is? Is it the river out there? Is it space? Is it Mars? No, it's inside your head. There are dimensional walls inside of our head. Mental and spiritual dimensional walls. So all this greatness in the message that I have, it's greatness in this message that I have, it cannot cross the gulf to affect my body or my life out here. There's just drips of water seeping through, little drips of water that keep me from dying and heal me from minor things. Haven't healed my high blood pressure, hasn't healed my salt retention, hasn't healed my macular degeneration, just holding everything at bay. All that power inside of me behind a dimensional wall, and it cannot cross over. You want to know what happened to Elijah and Elisha when they smote the water with their mantle and they crossed over? They crossed over into the realm of power, miracle working power. The river inside of their head. See? It's all there. Everything we need for eternal life is there behind a dimensional wall in your mind. And the aliens are also there behind another dimensional wall in your mind. See, everything that's going on in this world is an outplaying and acting out of spiritual reality. So there's the Khazarian Cabal and the Indonesian bloodlines and the Chinese bloodlines, the Red Dragon. Okay? All of these factions fighting with each other, it's all going on inside of you. The power of God, the power of the aliens, and however else that breaks down, it's basically just two. And they're both trying to break through the dimensional wall to manifest in this realm. And when they do, it's going to be through people. I listened to last Sunday's message last night, where I told you there's no magic in this world. This is not a magical world, you see. But there are powers trying to bring magic into this world. Magic is not a bad word. It's the wielding of spiritual power. The only thing that's bad is this, if it's not the Spirit of God doing it. Dimensional walls. Everything we need to bring the kingdom of God to the earth is inside of our heads. See? But it can't get over the wall. Can't pass through the wall. Can't go underneath. Can't pass through. Can't go above it. Why not? Why not? Why not? Somebody. Can anybody answer that question? Why not? Why? Why?
Why they can't get over the wall?
Why can't they get through the wall?
Because God put it there.
Why did God put it there?
To protect us.
From what?
From the entities that are...
What about us? Why can't it get wet? What's wrong with us? What's wrong with us? That the power won't cross over.
You couldn't handle it properly.
You're all going to get a D. Okay, it's a very simple answer. You're going to get an F. Why can't the power to bring righteousness into this world manifest through us?
Because of their own power.
Sin. Sin. S-I-N. It's all there. Okay. And here's the question. Are the entities of the reptilian cabal that are manifesting through certain humans? Who cares? They're manifesting through all of the humans. Through the Khazarian cabal, through the Indonesian cabal, through them. They're all, it's all the other side. Are they going to bring magic to this world? Or is the Lord Jesus Christ going to bring magic to this world? Or are they both going to bring magic to this world? And is it going to be a spiritual battle down here in this world? I don't know, but that's what it's all about, brethren. The only reality is in a place that takes up no space. The only reality is in our minds. Everything out here is a play, an acting out so that we can see it, of what's happening in the invisible place. And the latest player on the scene that probably nobody knows about yet is the cabal of the Lord Jesus Christ. And he's holding everything back because it's taking us so long to deal with our sins. I'm not here to condemn you. I'm all excited. He's going to help us. He's going to help us. We're waiting for him to help us because we can't do it without him. Why? Because we're formed in sin, shapen in iniquity. We are sin. It's him and us. That's the second part of that's my second session, so I'm going to stop now. Okay. We're going to watch this video, and then I'll preach my second session to you, which will be a continuation of this.
Please open mind. Discern this in all information. March 22nd, 2016. Benjamin Fulford. Something strange happening around Antarctica as negotiations for new financial system. Something is happening around Antarctica these days that is shrouded in secrecy but is also attracting a lot of heavy hitters. The visit to Antarctica by Patriarch Kirill, the head of the Russian Orthodox Church, in February was the first sign of something unusual happening. Now this week U.S. presidential spokesperson Barack Obama will be visiting the Nazi South American headquarters in Bariloche, in southern Argentina. Just before the Obama visit, it was revealed that China has built a giant space exploration base in southern Argentina. Following this revelation, the Argentine government reported they sank a Chinese fishing boat near a restricted area off the coast of southern Argentina. Pentagon sources say the boat was probably a Chinese spy vessel, since a normal fishing vessel would have responded to Argentine warnings. Furthermore, the heavy-handed Hazarian mafia attempt to overthrow the government of Brazil has now failed, depriving the Hazarian mafia of Brazil as a place to flee now that the American people are waking up to the crimes that have been committed against them, CIA sources in South America say. Now CIA sources in Asia are saying their connections who are above the government are all flying south this week, and hinted strongly that south referred to Antarctica. This is all very interesting because years ago Paul Lane, a source in Pentagon military intelligence, told this writer the then state-of-the-art UK guided missile destroyer HMS Sheffield had been captured by Nazis operating out of an undersea base in the region. The Sheffield was supposedly sunk in 1982 during the Falklands War between Argentina and the UK by an Exocet missile. This increase in highly secret activity in the southern hemisphere near Antarctica is somehow connected to ongoing negotiations over a gold mine in Papua New Guinea, that Lane also indicated was the location of a Nazi secret base. America's top spy, James Clapper, flew to Australia last week in what Australian media reports described as a secret visit. One topic of discussion is the revelation a Chinese company has acquired a 99-year lease on the Australian harbour at Darwin that includes Australian Navy facilities. However, there is also a very different agenda being discussed connected to gold and secret bases. CIA sources in Asia say that also present at the meeting were top Indonesian and Australian military officials. At one level, the discussions are about allowing the U.S. military to station a fleet around Badua Island, close to the South China Sea. At another level, the negotiations are also about giant new gold and platinum reserves found in the same general area as the giant Freeport-McMoran mine, and secret base, is located, Indonesian sources say. Indonesian President Joko Widodo is also expected to visit this week the Indonesian Equator Monument that is supposed to be the location of a giant gold stash, the sources say. The U.S. military is keen to build a giant new harbor there, in part as a cover for a gold recovery operation, CIA sources say. Meanwhile, the Asian side has revealed more details about a gold transaction being negotiated in order to provide funding for the creation of a future planning agency. At present, 8,000 metric tons of gold, worth about $320 billion at current market prices, are on offer by the Asians at a 13% discount from the market price. Of this, 4,000 tons would come from Thailand and 4,000 tons from China, Chinese government sources say. Of the 13% discount, 10% would go towards setting up the planning agency and remaining 3% would be for commissions, the government officials say. The gold on offer is officials say. The gold on offer is what is known as black gold or off-ledger gold. This gold, mostly held by Asian royal families, has been kept out of the Western financial system because allowing the Asians to cash their gold would give them overwhelming financial and thus global power. In this deal, the Asians would get dollars and other hard currency that can be used around the world, while the gold-starved Westerners would be able to replenish their bullion coffers. As of this writing, no formal Western response has been received for the 8,000-ton offer, but one is expected soon. In related news, this writer participated in the taping of a Japanese Prime TV show due to be aired on March 31st that will show the Japanese public clear evidence of Western cabal plans to kill 90% of the world's population. The show includes footage of the notorious Georgia Guidestones. The show also includes a segment discussing why Princess Diana was murdered and a segment about Native American contacts with possible aliens. This appears to be the beginning of some sort of disclosure process. It must be noted this show must have been approved by U.S. Ambassador to Japan Caroline Kennedy. Kennedy's father, President John F. Kennedy, was murdered in part because he wanted to use Asian gold to take the U.S. dollar out of the control of the Hazarian mafia cabal. We are also now hearing from the US military that the North Korean submarine sunk recently was actually an Israeli submarine that was sunk on March 11th in remembrance for Fukushima. However, Pentagon sources say Israel still has 2 more subs and much more to pay because 16 US ships that aided Japan in Operation Tomodachi after 311 are still contaminated. Another Hazarian crime that is still to be fully punished is the downing of Malaysian Airlines Flight 370. Pentagon sources are saying that Goldman Sachs may have been used to pay Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak $680 million to help cover up the hijacking of this plane to prevent the return home of 20 Chinese engineers working for Freescale Semiconductors. FBI Director Jim Comey visited China on March 14th. Likely as a part of this probe that also involves Russian investigators, the sources said. Inside the US as well, the takedown of the Hazarian Mafia is proceeding at an accelerating pace. For one thing, the various death threats against Republican candidate Donald Trump are being firmly dealt with by the Secret Service and other enforcement authorities. The rent-a-mobs being hired by George Soros are also being dealt with. The attacks on Hillary Clinton have also escalated to such an extent that even the New York Times propaganda rag has come out with stories that the Clintons handed over uranium mines in the US to the Russians in tandem with donations to their foundation. Meanwhile, presidential spokesperson Barack Obama's attempt to place Hazarian Jew Merrick Garland on the Supreme Court to replace Antonin Scalia has created a huge backlash of opposition. Garland was involved in the cover-up of the Oklahoma City bombings and is in support of gun control. His appointment is opposed by Republicans, the Vatican, the military, the NRA, militia members and many others. It is almost as if he was selected deliberately to galvanize opposition to Hazarian mob rule. The other Hazarian Mafia stronghold under attack is the widely reviled Monsanto Corporation. Their attempt to ban the labeling of GMO crops on foodstuffs has backfired, and now several major food makers, including General Mills and Campbell Soup, have promised to label GMO foods. Furthermore, the FBI is now probing the various food poisoning outbreaks that affected the Chipotle fast food chain after it announced it was going GMO-free. Initial evidence is pointing to Monsanto goons as being the culprits, FBI sources say. In the Middle East, meanwhile, the UN and the US have begun to openly call Turkish and Saudi Arabian attacks war crimes and genocide. This is paving the way for a major military campaign to clean up that troubled region once and for all. Turkish President Recep Erdogan seems to losing control of his senses under the pressure as evidenced by recent statements calling journalists and politicians terrorists. The Turkish military know they will have to dump him if they are to save their country from dismemberment. It may be already too late for Saudi Arabia to do the same. A Saudi prince, who was involved in an attempt to offer the White Dragon Society $25 trillion to go away, once admitted we have been obeying them for so long, that his country's rulers could not contemplate any other course. The them was a reference to the Hazarian mob but, in the context, he was clearly referring to something even more ancient and evil. This is the human slaver guild known to history as the Hyksos, who worshipped a goat-faced being with a forked tail we refer to as Satan. Certainly the recent actions of the Saudis, such as bombing markets and killing innocent people, can only be described as satanic. On a final note, Russian sources say Pope Francis is planning to make a major announcement, possibly in May, and then retire. While experience has taught us to be wary of specific dates or deadlines, it is undeniable that major world changes are taking place. The WDs, for its part, will make some sort of announcement if and when it sees the actual physical gold mentioned. Thanks for listening and watching. Subscribe and share.
Patriarch Cyril of Russia performs ancient ritual in Antarctica over Saudi Arabia's mysterious Ark of Gabriel. And what we can only conclude is one of the most bizarre reports ever circulated The report today that the global leader of the Russian Orthodox Church, Patriarch Kirill of Moscow, arrived in Antarctica earlier today, where he joined up with the vast Federation Naval Armada transporting from Saudi Arabia the mysterious Ark of Gabriel, entrusted to Russia's care at the custodian of the two holy mosques, and performed an ancient ritual over it, reading from a secret text given to him by Pope Francis just days prior in Cuba, when these leaders of Christianity's two top sects met for the first time in nearly 1,000 years. According to the Ministry of Defense report, which had previously reported on December 6, 2005 report, Russia begins transport of Saudi Arabia's mysterious Ark of Gabriel to Antarctica. The mysterious Ark of Gabriel was first discovered in Mecca on September 12, 2015 by a construction crew tunneling under the Masjid al-Haram Mosque, the Grand Mosque, and who, when attempting to unearth it, were all killed by a massive plasma emission that killed further 107. Even worse, on the 24th of September 2015, during a second attempt to unearth the mysterious Ark of Gabriel, another massive plasma emission did away with an estimated 4,000 more people, but which Saudi officials blamed on a stampede. The quote from the original Ministry of Defense report as to what Saudi officials did next is read here. Quote, after the catastrophic death toll involved with the Saudis' second attempt to remove this mysterious device, His Holiness Patriarch Kirill was then contacted by the Grand Mosque emissaries in regards to one of the oldest Islamic manuscripts possessed by the Russian Orthodox Church that was saved from the Roman Catholic Crusades in 1204, when they sacked the Church of the Holy Wisdom, now known as Hagia Sophia, in Constantinople, present-day Istanbul, Turkey, titled Gabriel's Instructions to Mohammed. It's important to note, and virtually unknown in the West, that the Roman Catholic Crusades, and like they mirror today, were not only against the people of Islamic faith, but also against those having Russian Orthodox faith too. And why, during these crusades, the Russian Orthodox Church not only protected their own religious libraries from being destroyed, but also those belonging to the Muslims. As to the contents of this ancient Islamic manuscript, Gabriel's Instructions to Muhammad, entitled, it centers around a group of instructions given to Muhammad by Angel Gabriel in a cave called Hira, located on the mountain called Jabal an-Nur near Mecca, wherein this heavenly being entrusted into Muhammad's care a box or an ark of immense power. He was forbidden to use as it belonged to God only, and was instead to be buried in a shrine at the place of worship the angels used before the creation of man. End quote. Until this further uncovering in the days of Yaun al-Qiyamah, or Qiyamah, which means literally day of the resurrection, end quote. On the 6th of December 2015, the report continues, Federation Naval Research Vessel Admiral Vladimirsky departed the Saudi Arabian port of Jeddah with the Ark of Gabriel bound for Antarctica, accompanied by vast naval armada ordered for this protection by President Putin, and that strangely also included capsules with Russian soil to be placed in the areas of military glory and burial sites of Russian sailors at selected ports of call along the long journey to the Southern Ocean. Upon his learning of the grave and global implications associated with the mysterious Ark of Gabriel, the report continues, Pope Francis contacted Patriarch Kirill, requesting an urgent and immediate meeting while warning that the end is near, end quote. After which Patriarch Kirill agreed to meet the Roman Catholic Church leader in Cuba on the 12th of February, a historic meeting between these two leaders that had not taken place between these church leaders in nearly 1,000 years. Though the exact nature of talks between Patriarch Kirill and Pope Francis remains classified at a much higher level than we've granted access to, the Ministry of Defense analysts in this report do state that an ancient secret manuscript was given to Patriarch Kirill by Pope Francis that pertains to the Ark of Gabriel, whose legend behind it claims it was written directly by the Watchers, the angels, or are they angels? They could be Nephilim. So it was written directly by the Watchers, described in the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch. And just hours ago, the report concludes, Patriarch Kirill, while using this, quote, secret text, end quote, given to him by Pope Francis, performed an ancient ritual over the Ark of Gabriel in the Russian Orthodox Holy Trinity Church, the only church in Antarctica, and where immediately thereafter this mysterious artifact was transported into the vast interior of this cold and foreboding continent of Antarctica by a highly specialized Spetsnaz Special Forces unit to a destination and purpose not identified. I'll leave a link below for you for this article.
That second video that came on, I didn't intend it, but I let it run. I don't know who that woman is. She seems to be a newcomer on YouTube, and I think I watched the first video that they produced in which she was identified as a member of some group of nuns. I felt it was Catholic, and I was very suspicious of her because she said, in that first video, she said something about Donald Trump sending a letter to Putin, which I think might be considered treason. I searched all over the web. I could not find anyone else reporting that Donald Trump had sent a letter to Putin. And I cannot imagine that he would have done that, and I'm not aware enough of the law, but I don't like the sound of it. I don't think it would have made him look good at all. So, but I couldn't find it anywhere else. So from that day forward, plus the fact that she seems to be the representative of a group of nuns, I'm just suspicious of her. However, since then, her organization, or at least the name under which she's feeding information into YouTube, she seems to be going along with a lot of what others were saying, and yet she seems to have some real insider information that seemed pretty legitimate. I had already heard from two other sources that the Pope and the Patriarch had met, and of course that's coming together for the one world government. As I told you on Thursday, someone was saying, one of these writers was saying that Putin had really commanded the Patriarch to do it. Putin's not, he's not a part of the Khazarian cabal, I'll adopt that name, but he is a player on the world scene. He is a part of the players that are playing this chess game for the power and over and control of the world and the world's resources, which includes all the people that work for them, which is us, the common people. So Putin is a player, on the world scene, and so apparently he is in agreement with the one world religion, if that is true. But in fact, they have met. So did Putin command it or not? I don't know. Why? what force or what influence was exercised over the patriarch to do this after 1,000 years. Something either had to be given to him, or he had to be coerced to do it. One or the other. People don't do things like this for no reason. You know. So anyway, I learned something. I didn't know that there was a Russian Orthodox church on Antarctica, and that it was the only church on Antarctica. So what do we come away with? Something very big is happening on Antarctica that all of the world powers are interested in. You know? And whatever else you happen to glean from those two videos. So that's really unless you have anyone has a question about any of this, I would do my best to answer you. I claim no expertise on it. I just know what I listen to, and if I hear 2 or 3 or 4 people talking about the same subject, I tend to form somewhat of an opinion, and I feel better about it if there's more than one person talking about it. You know, remember William Mount says that Donald Trump is a Knights Templar, and in Dr. Mount's opinion, the Knights Templar are a much better choice than the Khazarian cabal. That, according to Dr. Mount, they want to stabilize the monetary system. So it would be very naive of us, brethren, to think that Donald Trump, with his $10 million, has no affiliations whatsoever. That would really be naive of us, you know. So our hope is that he's aligned with the forces that are at least working, that if we had to choose as to what would be the best interest for America, the best interest for America, since I believe this is the base from which the Lord will bring forth the kingdom of God. So you align yourself with the best player, and Donald Trump seems to be the best player, but let's not be naive. Let's hope for the best with Donald Trump, but let's not be naive. Okay, he has to have connections somewhere. And in case you hadn't heard about it, he did have a business deal with Soros quite a few years ago. I think Soros loaned him money to build one of his buildings. So he's, you know, he has all. Don't get naive with Donald Trump. We'll just hope for the best, okay? That he will be the imperfect person that will be serving the purposes of the kingdom of God at this time. Okay, Jesus is the only Savior, okay? And all of this movement and all of these forces vying for control of the planet, there is really more than control of the planet. They're really vying for control of the human race, because remember, the planet, brethren, this planet is a holograph. Our planet, outer space, it's all a holograph. It's a holograph. The only reality is invisible intelligence. The only reality is invisible intelligence. The planet is a holograph. There is no planet. Okay? There is no planet. The only reality is invisible intelligence. So there's a struggle going on right now between righteousness on the one side and good and evil on the other side. So righteousness is hidden right now. You can't see what righteousness is doing. What we know about righteousness is that righteousness by Jesus Christ is bringing forth the doctrine of Christ and raising up his own army. But you don't hear anything about that. All you hear about is over here, the good and evil. So the good and evil are struggling with each other. They're fighting with it. That's good. They weaken each other until the day that the forces of righteousness appear to take dominion over all. And the only way that can happen, the only way the forces of righteousness can take dominion over the good forces as well as the evil forces, is that Jesus Christ takes the victory in the invisible world. And what is the victory in the invisible world? The victory is that the Lord Jesus Christ is, and this is my second message, I'm going into my second message today. The Lord Jesus Christ is coming to separate the adulterous woman from her husband and return her to her true husband. And when that happens, that reality will be reflected in this holographic world, which is not even a material world, it's a holographic world. So I'm going to stop now because I'm going into my next message. So if you would like to continue to hear what I have to say about these subjects, what is the name of the message when we're going into? Adam. There's no name here.
Infinite potential.
Yeah.
Adam's Infinite Potential. I will be preaching Adam's Infinite Potential Part 2 after a 10-minute break. Okay, God bless you all, brother.